My name is Amy Ard. 3 years ago, moved back into the house that I was born in and lived there with my husband, 3 kids, and my mom. I have an almost 13-year-old daughter, a 10-year-old son, and an almost 7-year-old son. They all play the violin, and every night at about 6 p.m. we head out to our front porch and do a little concert for our neighbors. I'm the executive director of Motherhood Beyond Bars, and it's a nonprofit in Georgia. I have been a doula for 11 years, and it was through the work of being a doula that I really was introduced to the work of prison work as well. One time I was at the hospital, and I walked out of the hallway and saw a pair of shackles on a gurney in the hallway. The door in the room next to me opened up, and an armed guard walked out of this room. I was supporting a family and realized that in the room next to mine, there could be very well a woman shackled to a bed with an armed guard as her only support person. And that's the day that my idea of doula work kind of turned upside down, and I realized that I wanted to support the most vulnerable women. Until pretty recently, it was legal to shackle pregnant women, to shackle women who were actively in labor and immediately in the postpartum period. And so when I moved to Georgia, I started looking for people who were working on this issue and found a small but really committed group of individuals, particularly a woman named Pamela Wynn, who had experienced shackling herself and lost a baby as a result of that. And I'm excited that on October 1st of 2019, the governor signed our legislation. It's no longer admissible. You can no longer shackle a pregnant woman, either in prison or in jails in Georgia. The only reason that the work that I do is possible is because we live in a house with my mom. And my mother living in our house is the reason that the trains run on time, that the children are dressed, and that is absolutely true. There's always going to be give and take when you live in a place with many generations living together. The fact that my kids have the benefit of being loved by their mom, their dad, and their grandmother who's there with them, that's just the greatest gift.
My name is Danita Howland. I am married to Brian Sells. We have a daughter, she's 12 months old. Her name is Sarah Elizabeth. I founded In-Town Pediatric and Adolescent Medicine in 2006. I went into pediatrics in the first place because I feel like to save the world, we need to make sure we're taking care of our children. Our motto became Your Friendly Neighborhood Pediatrician. We intentionally placed ourselves in the community. We had our families were living behind and around and across the street from us. We would literally stand out in front and wave down pregnant moms and say, "Hey, do you have a pediatrician yet? We're right here." It was my goal really to understand that we are raising children who are parts of families and parts of neighborhoods and parts of communities, and so being able to understand who they are and who their families are helps them grow better and be healthier. And it takes a lot of help to balance being a pediatrician and a business owner and a mom to a 12-month-old. I have an incredible husband. He got me to start the practice in the first place, and what even in the very beginning was answering phones on Saturday mornings for me and cheering me on the whole way. I'm president of the board of a political action committee called New Power. That's probably where I spend a lot of my time, and we have a nonprofit arm as well. Our work is to help get more women elected to office in Georgia. We have a nonprofit that we work with within the office called Reach Out and Read, which I love, and actually my partner is sort of the primary organizer for that. We all participate and give books out to children at their checkups. A few years ago, my husband was inspired by Michelle Obama to actually start our own home garden. And so we started with just a few raised beds, and now we've evolved to about 24. And I've always wanted to be a beekeeper. And when we moved here a few years ago and had a little more space, we decided we could put our beehives in with the chickens. They're grateful to have it. It's good decompression time to be out there getting your hands dirty.
My name is Tracy Moore, and I grew up in Georgia, in North Georgia. I'm married to Scott Moore. I have 6 boys. 4 of those boys are biological: Jacob, Cameron, Trevor, and Nathan. We have 2 adopted sons, Samuel Cage and Trenton. Samuel Cage is 8 and Trenton is 5. And we were actually foster parents for probably about 10 years. And we had a lot of different foster kids, but we did adopt these 2 boys. and they're our last boys who we ever had as foster parents. Our journey into fostering, I think, probably really began when I was a child, and that was hearing my mom talk about her experience in foster care. She was actually in an orphanage and in a foster home for 2 years of her young life. So it was just inspiring to me, even to hear the difficulty in her story, just how being in a loving family and a loving orphanage, how it really changed the trajectory of her life. And I think it created something in my heart, just a desire to give back. But we continue to be big advocates for the foster care system. Adopted our first son in 2013, and then we were approached by DFACS about another son who had some significant special needs. Some of them were similar to our son, Cage, and we said yes to him. A little bit scary again. I can't imagine our lives without them. And I just really decided that I wanted to do something different, that I wanted to finally pursue my certification in counseling. So I will be starting that in June of this year, finally pursuing that lifelong dream of counseling women and children.
My name is Kimya Motley. I am a mom, I'm an author, an advocate, the CEO of Haven of Light International, and a survivor of gun violence due to domestic violence. I have 2 children, Theron, he's 25 years old, and Corinne is 19 years old. I was married to this man that I thought was the love of my life, and we were married for maybe a year, and he took the mask off and he became abusive. We ended up separating after a period of time and a series of going back and forth, because I thought at the time that he would change, not really understanding the dynamics of abuse. But when I finally put my foot down and I said, okay, I'm gonna stand up for my life, for my children's lives, I told him that I wanted a divorce. And that's the #1 thing you're not supposed to do when you are an abused woman. You're supposed to have a safety plan. Well, he met me at my daughter's daycare center on September 20th, 2011, around 6:30 in the morning, and he ambushed us. He shot me with a .38 in my face, in my neck, in the back of my head, and in my back. He went on to shoot my daughter, who was 10 years old at the time, 1 time in the head. We were not expected to live, past that tragedy, but we did by God's grace. And I just felt that because I survived something like that, it was my duty to help women going through domestic violence or women who wanted to escape it. Back when Governor Deal was governor, he gave me a commendation for being a leading domestic violence advocate. Well, abuse takes on different forms. Sometimes it's isolating you from the outside world, isolating you from friends and family. It's about controlling you. A lot of women that stay in these relationships are there because they're fearful of something. And when you show them just a little bit of light, just a little bit of hope, you're not trapped, then they feel free to go ahead and move forward with their lives.
So my name is Jenny Cochran, and I'm the mother of 3 amazing teenagers, and I have a background in childbirth education. I'm currently teaching childbirth classes part-time, and I'm also working at Chick-fil-A. I'm the founder of Embrace Refugee Birth Support, and up until the end of 2019, I was also the director. Back in 2009, I started thinking about the refugee community here in Clarkston and realized that as a childbirth educator and as a labor doula, I had a service that I could provide to women if there was a need. We began to realize that there was a greater need than just helping with appointments and being a birth support for them during their birthing time. And so we began Embrace, and from there Embrace began to grow. We provide childbirth classes, and in those classes the women meet for 8 weeks, and they're learning about how to stay healthy during their pregnancy. They're learning how to advocate for themselves and what that looks like, especially for many women around the world. Self-advocacy is not even heard of, it's not understood, and that is a large component of what we're trying to teach women. My biggest inspiration, I would have to say, are the women in my family. My mother, first and foremost, and my aunts. One in particular who has always been an activist in her community. Even as children, she taught us a lot about what it looks like to consider others and to the importance of giving back and to fight for those whose voices maybe aren't being heard. So something that I would say to any new mother is to show yourself grace. It's going to be bumpy. There are going to be some days that you just feel like you've won Mom of the Year, and other days where you feel like somebody should just lock you away and never let you, talk to your children again. And it's okay. You're going to be just fine. And you have to show yourself grace, and you have to show grace to your children. You're trying to figure out who you are as a mother. They're trying to figure out just who they are. And just take a deep breath, and every day's a new day.
Hi, I'm Kenyatta Williams. I'm from Macon, Georgia, born and bred. I am a mother of 2 boys, Justin, who is 14, and Jaden, who is 12. Then I have 3 beautiful foster daughters. Ava is 3, Isabella is 4, and Layla is 19 months, and she's the boss. Justin was a 24-weeker. He weighed 1 pound and 3 ounces at birth. He even had a G-button, and from time to time he'll show people his G-button scar. So he has a very soft heart for Ava. Anything Ava needs, he does it. She's medically fragile. She's a trait baby. She has a list of things wrong with her, so you have to be very skilled to take care of her. She loves to be cuddled. She made all the fuss so she could get hugged and kissed on. She's content. She has been through so much, and God has really blessed her. Not most foster parents deal with the parents, but I am currently co-parenting with their mom because she wants to get them back. We have open communication. I allow her to FaceTime her kids. We go to the doctor's appointments. We even throw birthday parties for the girls. Basically, I have took her in as part of the family as well. So being a caregiver, I have done that basically all my life. From working in the healthcare field all the way to taking care of my grandmother, who was diagnosed with dementia in 2007. I cared for her all the way to January 2017 when she passed. I have always taken care of children. I raised my aunt daughter from the time she was 8 years old to basically till now. She's 27. So many babies, so many kids need a loving home, and that's an inspiration to me to try to provide that for somebody.